couple thoughts, additional thoughts, I should say, about that conversation with Nancy Altman and Medicare for All. First of all, forgive me for this, but a couple weeks ago, a Harvard professor, a law professor, Lawrence Tribe, was spreading terrible lies about Bernie Sanders. He was saying that he was going after Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, which he never did go after either one of them, and that he was doing that because he is a sexist. Now, it turns out that not only was Bernie Sanders not going after his two fellow senators, but he was in the process of discussing with them his upcoming Medicare for All legislation, which both Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren co-sponsored. So, Lawrence Tribe, a shame on you. Now that Medicare for All bill has come out, and we learn that it is reshaping the art of the possible. We are learning that the scenario, the political landscape is changing all around us. Now, there's been some predictable pushback to that idea. For example, health insurance CEOs don't like it. Who knew? The main insurer trade group, which is of course funded by health insurance companies, and their leaders issued what's called a strongly worded statement against Medicare for All. Quote, whether it's called single payer or Medicare for All, government-controlled healthcare cannot work. Now, this is despite the fact that it does work in literally every other developed country on earth. This is despite the fact that it works for Medicare and has worked successfully for Medicare for 50 years. This is despite the fact that it works for Medicaid, and that in fact it works with lower margins, lower rates of inflation, and more efficiency than any private health insurance company on the planet Earth. Nevertheless, David Merritt, the executive vice president of America's health insurance plans, we should invite him on the show, by the way, I think that would be interesting, says, quote, it will eliminate choice, undermine quality, put a chill on medical innovation, and place an even heavier burden on hardworking taxpayers. Now, let's take that statement apart a little bit. It will eliminate choice. Have you tried to go outside your health plan's provider list lately? Have you tried to pick a drug that's not on their list of approved drugs or formulary lately? Have you? Because if you've tried to do any of those things, you know that you're dealing with a faceless bureaucracy that denies you choice, and that in fact there is very little recourse. It will undermine quality. Well, what does an insurance company do to protect quality, given the fact that health outcomes in this country lag behind other developed countries that work under public systems of health insurance? They have no case to make there. It will put a chill on medical innovation. Well, first of all, most medical innovation is funded by the taxpayer and then exploited by private corporations. Secondly, when the market that they have is a market that is government funded, they will figure out a way. They're clever people. They say it will place an even heavier burden on hardworking taxpayers. Wrong. Actually, it will lighten the load for hardworking taxpayers who are currently paying an average of $10,000 per year out of pocket, in fact, nearly $11,000 for so-called good insurance for a family of four. They will pay much less for that under a Medicare for All program. So these people are upset. Too bad. Now, we should also say Dana Milbank of the Washington Post is also upset. He's saying it proves that Democrats are socialists. Well, that's just name-calling or complimenting, depending on your point of view, but he doesn't mean it that way. The fact is that if Democrats are socialists, well, they support Social Security. If you like Social Security, you're a socialist too. They support Medicare. If you like Medicare, you're a socialist too. If you like our bloated defense budget, then I guess you're a military socialist. I prefer to call it doing what works.